It's now being reported that the Batman will be creating its own cinematic universe, one that will be competing with James Gunn's DCU. Hey everyone, welcome back to our movie news. Today we have an extremely surprising report claiming that Matt Reeves The Batman universe, or the Reevesverse, will be turning into its own cinematic universe. This is incredibly surprising, as not only did it seem that Reeves wasn't interested in something like this, but also that this would become a direct competitor to James Gunn's partially rebooted DCU. The report comes from Grace Randolph, and before you roll your eyes, let's just keep an open mind with this, as it could be true. Grace doesn't have the perfect track record, but she has got some things right in the past, so to completely dismiss her would be a mistake. Hopefully more reliable scoopers can come out and confirm or deny this scoop from her, but for the time being, we just have to listen to Randolph's report. She states, "I hear reports of building out the Reevesverse are true, with additional filmmakers. I think that's crazy to have competing fully fledged cinematic universes." So she has heard that Warner Bros. Discovery are planning to build out the Reevesverse with additional filmmakers involved. Now, the reason why I stated Warner Bros. Discovery instead of DC Studios is because I don't think there is any chance that James Gunn or Peter Safran would allow or want a competing cinematic universe alongside their own DCU. I know he's mentioned that Batman and Joker will continue as Elseworlds movies, but they were never their own cinematic universes, just standalone stories. So they weren't competing as much as the Reevesverse reportedly will now. So I think this may have been a decision by David Zaslav. There is no denying that the way James Gunn has gone around his reboot announcement has been poor. Announcing that most but not all of the DCEU will be rebooted before the DCEU movies being released this year was a terrible business decision. They shot down what little interest there was in the DCEU with that announcement. Black Adam was released just before the announcement and made $393 million without a Chinese release. Then, James Gunn announced their plans, and since then Shazam 2 and The Flash haven't reached anywhere near that total. So clearly the announcement had something to do with the box office disappointments. So what if David Zaslav has seen how the DCEU is bombing and how Gunn's announcement has negatively affected DC financially and is starting to have small doubts regarding Gunn's DCU? I'm not saying he's going to pull the plug on the DCU already, but maybe his faith in Gunn and Safran is starting to decrease. So by igniting another DC cinematic universe with Matt Reeves, he has a backup in place. So if the DCU bombs like the DCEU has been doing so recently, they have a backup ready. The Batman and Joker have been the only two DC movies to make a profit since 2019, and the only two DC movies to make over $500 million at the box office since 2018. So having the Batman Reevesverse expand into a cinematic universe to Zaslav looks like the best way to make money. The Batman also only had a production budget of $100 million, so to Zaslav, that will be the appealing part of the deal too. They want to make as much money as possible, but they need to reduce spending, and the Reevesverse won't be as expensive as the DCU. Warner Bros. Discovery are in a lot of debt, and Zaslav is determined on finding any way to reduce that debt. I thought they would struggle to fund one cinematic universe, but now hearing that they may have two DC cinematic universes just confuses me even more. They don't have a lot of funds, so surely they would need to prioritize one of the cinematic universes over the other, or would he leave that to DC Studios to decide? But if he does, it's pretty clear who Gunn would want to choose. But to be honest, I can't see how they can afford to produce two cinematic universes. They'd have to either massively slow down both storylines so that it becomes more affordable, or prioritize one universe over the other. I know they would both be DC storylines, so they could be on the same side, but that's just not how it works. They would be rivals, both trying to compete for the same audience, and one will lose. It creates the interesting question of why would they be wanting to do this in the first place? I see this happening for multiple reasons. Zaslav is losing faith in Gunn, and the Reevesverse is being expanded upon because he sees the DCU flopping and wants to ensure DC has a cinematic universe that they can fall back on if the DCU flops. The second is that Zaslav is trying to expand the cinematic IP of DC so that if a merger happens with Universal, which has been rumored by the Hollywood Reporter, Zaslav will be able to get a larger fee in the merger and probably more money in his own pocket. The third is similar to the second. Zaslav wants to sell DC next year to Universal instead of the whole company, and having two cinematic universes within DC means they can get a higher price for it, which will massively decrease their debt, which is Zaslav's main focus. He's gutting the whole company to reduce the debt, and I really think selling DC would be of interest to him. And the fourth could just be that they see a lot of potential in the Reevesverse and want to expand that storyline, which makes fans and shareholders happy. Now, out of those options, which one do you think is more likely? Let me know in the comments below. So now we've got out of the way of why this could happen, let's talk about what it may look like. The Reevesverse becoming its own cinematic universe does have many questions attached to it. If it's becoming a cinematic universe, surely that means we will have new characters introduced other than Batman characters, so people like Superman and Wonder Woman and so on. Unless by cinematic universe they really mean just expanding on Batman characters, because I don't see that being as big of a deal as what Randolph is making it out to be. I thought that was already what they were doing. We have the Penguin that will be released on Max and then the Batman 2 in 2024, and I'm pretty sure we heard that more shows and spin-offs were going to happen. So that isn't brand new information, but Randolph is saying a new cinematic universe with additional filmmakers, which to me implies more mainstream DC characters like Superman being directed by other people, which will be so confusing. We literally just got the announcements for the DCU's Superman, and now there may be another brand new Superman for the Reevesverse? I don't really understand how this will work. It will just be messy to general audiences, and to be honest, I think DC fans will be quite confused about this too. Do they put labels on each cinematic universe? Do they have different logos for whichever cinematic universe that project is in? I think this will be far more confusing to fans, and honestly, it feels like it could be more of a replacement of the DCU than standing alongside it. I can't see two brand new cinematic Superman stories being told in two separate universes at the same time. The more I think about it, the more this feels like it could be an absolute mess. What if Gunn and Reeves both want to use the same characters at the same time? Who would get priority? How would they be able to decide when and what characters are being used? Now personally, if this does happen, I'd be more excited for the Reevesverse than the DCU, as I prefer the Batman over anything Gunn has done for DC or Marvel, so that universe intrigues me more. But I actually hope for the sake of both storylines this doesn't happen, because if it does, things will become extremely messy and fans will be divided even more. People are already going to compare the Batman to Batman Brave and the Bold. Imagine that, but with every character that is in both universes. I think fans and general audiences would also prioritize which versions of the characters they watch. I think if people prefer Reevesverse Superman over DCU Superman, I think people won't bother watching future DCU Superman stories and only watch Reevesverse Superman stories. I guess you could say more DC content is good for DC fans as we get more of what we want, but I honestly think less is more. Fans are already divided on the DCU. Imagine throwing in another brand new cinematic universe into the mix. It also asks the question, if the Reevesverse is allowed to become a cinematic universe, why can't the Snyderverse be restored too? Fans would definitely start demanding even more than they have been doing so for the Snyderverse to be restored, which will cause even more pushback against the studio. Honestly, I can't see anything good coming from creating a whole new cinematic universe along the DCU. I think the Reevesverse would be amazing and I would watch all of it, but I can't see how this would benefit the DC fandom and especially the DCU. unless it was to replace the DCU. It just doesn't add up. There has to be some other form of motive other than just wanting two universes to expand alongside each other. If this does happen, I will be very excited for the Reevesverse. To hear other filmmakers coming in will be very interesting to see. I feel they will need to be along the same lines as Matt Reeves' style and tone, as that is what made the Batman stand out. I would love to get that more grounded look on these heroes, movies that take their time, and really feel like filmmaker movies rather than studio flicks. So I would be excited for the Reevesverse to expand, but I'm just worried about the overall impact it could have on DC. I guess we will just have to wait and see what happens with this rumor. It is just a rumor right now, and my opinion on that rumor is what this video is about. The real judgment is if this turns out to be true. So let's just see how this rumor unfolds and if it's actually accurate. So make sure to let me know what you think is going on at Warner Bros. Discovery. Do you think this will happen? And if so, why do you think they are deciding to do this? Let me know in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon. So until then, have a great day. Bye.